All right, everyone, welcome to episode 4 of Financial Frontiers with Bruin Finance Society, the podcast where we explore the world of business and finance and is your home for all finance-related topics and news here at UCLA. Today, we're excited to sit down with Ella Meredith, a standout leader and trailblazer at the intersection of engineering and business. With a bachelor's degree in fire protection engineering at the University of Maryland and nearly 4 years of experience in engineering roles, Ella is now pursuing her MBA here at UCLA Anderson as a Forté Foundation Fellow, a prestigious recognition awarded to women demonstrating exemplary leadership and impact. Beyond the classroom, she holds leadership roles in everything from consulting to community building and even a wine club. In this episode, we'll unpack how Ella's technical foundation fuels her business vision and what she's learned navigating two demanding fields, consulting and engineering. Ella, welcome to the podcast. We're thrilled to have you here.
Thank you so much. I am so honored to be here and really excited to jump right in and share whatever insights will be relevant, and hopefully I can help provide a good bridge from the more technical background to how it applies to the business world.
All right, awesome. Well, let's get straight into it. So the first question I have for you is, you studied fire protection engineering for your bachelor's, which is highly specialized and critical field. What drew you to that specific discipline, and how did that kind of shape your view on infrastructure and public safety?
Yeah, definitely. I get this question all the time, actually. Fire protection engineering is a field that very few people have heard of, so I'm actually usually shocked when people have heard of it. So the University of Maryland, College Park has the only undergrad accredited bachelor's degree in fire protection engineering. So I joined this cohort of about 100 students across all 4 years. So it's a very tight-knit community from the undergrad to the actual industry. And the thing that drew me to it wasn't anything specifically related. I didn't have a inherent interest in fire. I know sometimes people are like, are you a little bit of like a pyro? And I'm like, not really, mostly the opposite. But I knew I wanted to do engineering undergrad, and when I was a freshman at Maryland, I was looking through the available undergrad engineering majors because I went in undecided engineering, and I thought fire protection sounded very interesting. Essentially, for those listening who aren't familiar with it, it's almost an intersection of like a civil engineering degree with a fire science degree, combined with a little bit of psychology, human behavior, and I thought that intersection sounded really interesting. And also, fire protection engineering has an extremely high job placement rate, so there's approximately 3 jobs for every 1 graduate of the program. So that sounded very enticing to me as a freshman in college, and I took the intro to life safety and fire protection engineering in my sophomore year, and from then I was hooked, and and we'll dive into kind of why I've pivoted away from that. But I think the second part of your question was how it's shaped my view on infrastructure and buildings. Yeah. And it definitely has. It's one of those things where you don't notice it until you know about it. And since I did so much with the built environment, and specifically with regard to life safety, human safety, and egress, it's pretty much all I think about whenever I enter any building now. I'm always aware of where the exits are, aware of doors swinging in the correct direction or sometimes the incorrect direction, exit signs, fire alarm, notification devices, sprinklers, all of the above. So it's really given me this inside look into how buildings actually work, and a lot of buildings, they're almost like alive. Like there's so many inner workings that you never really think about.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, very unique. That's something you don't hear every day.
Yeah, definitely.
Very unique perspective and career path. So, yeah, thank you so much for sharing. So the next question I have for you is, you've encountered a lot of challenges, I'm sure, throughout your journey, and I was wondering if you could, walk us through one of your challenging or most rewarding engineering projects that you've had in the past, and what advice do you have for students that are currently listening to the podcast right now about this kind of like project that you worked on?
Yeah, definitely. I worked on a lot of difficult but rewarding projects throughout my multiple years as working as an engineer. I'm thinking about one specifically that was in New York. It was a high-rise building in New York that was a conversion from a office building to a residential building. So kind of in the couple years post-COVID, there was a lot of those types of conversions from all of the companies that were going away from being in office. So they're kind of reusing this space into apartments. And you may not think about this, but buildings that are built for office space are not designed in a way that's conducive to apartments. So it's a lot of challenge in how do you get this floor plan to work for the use that you're going for. And we had a pretty high profile client. It was an architect based in New York, and the New York City building code is very, very complex, very integrated, very unique. And just for those listening, each jurisdiction has its own building code. So there's a overall governing building code, the International Building Code, and then each area. So California has the California Building Code, New York has the New York City Building Code, upstate New York has different building codes. So just for a little context. And I read through the building code very, very intensely just because I had to get a full set of knowledge on what I was working with going into this project. And even throughout the project, I was always discovering new things. Our client would be like, oh, that doesn't sound right. Like, are you sure, you're reading that right? And like sometimes I was, sometimes I wasn't. But I think the biggest takeaway and challenge that I think would be relevant to those listening is don't be afraid to admit when you're wrong. I think that's usually something that people see as like a weakness or an area where if you say something and then you later get new information that changes your viewpoint, that's not a bad thing. I think that's almost a sign of a strong person and being able to update your set of knowledge and values, and just know that like we're all human, we're all learning. I was a few years out of college working on this huge building. Like I wasn't going to get everything right the first time, and to go off of that, I think always communicating as much as you can and as much as can be helpful to your team or whoever you're working with is always a good thing. So we're all human, we're all living this life for the first time together, so just trying to do your best, but understand that nobody's perfect, and it usually is all going to be okay.
All right, thank you so much. Very great point you bring up there. I think sometimes it takes courage to admit that sometimes you may not be accurate on things, right? Like you said, we're all humans, like we're all kind of learning and taking things as we go. So a lot of times we'll make mistakes, and that's just part of life, and really it's just important to learn from those mistakes, like you were saying. So thank you so much for that. Really great advice there. Now, bouncing off from what you were saying, like I think it's really interesting how you were in this very specialized and unique field, right, with fire protection engineering. I think that's really interesting to hear from me personally, just because I've never heard it before. So
you wouldn't
really,
be the first.
Yeah, really cool. So going off from that, I'm curious to know how we landed here.
Yeah.
You know, now we're at UCLA Anderson, right? You're pursuing your MBA. How did we go from engineering to an MBA? And was there like a defining moment or experience that led you to that decision? Was there like an epiphany of some sort? And my second question for that is, do you have like any advice for students that are interested in pursuing an MBA in the future? Perhaps they're not from a traditional background?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is also super relevant, and I always say, now that I am, a part of the Anderson admissions ambassador corps, there's no traditional background, and kind of starting off with the second part of your question, there's no background that's necessarily better or worse for going into an MBA. But how I got here, I wouldn't say there was any specific moment where I knew that I wanted to kind of head myself down a different path. I think it was a mix of probably many things. I don't like to ever get like too comfortable. So I think part of that had to do with me, like I had this job that I liked. I was at a small fire protection engineering consulting firm it was based in Miami, but I was in New York. I worked from home. I was paid well. I had a great boss. I didn't work more than 45 hours a week, and I had a lot of autonomy with my job, which sounds like a dream scenario to a lot of people, but I don't know, I was searching for more. Like I wanted that feeling of really being pushed and challenged, and I felt a lot in undergrad when you're working with a team around a final presentation, and then you have to present, and it's really nerve-wracking. Like I never had that feeling at work, and I wanted that feeling for something. And I remember explaining this to my friends at the time, well before I applied to business school, and they were like, that's insane. Like you have a great life here, and I was like, yeah, but like I want more. So I think it was a summation of many things kind of just leading me to want to do more. So I was primarily working in the real estate sector on development in this very niche area of real estate development, and I knew it was going to be kind of hard for me to pivot into anything that wasn't in real estate development. So, and because I had such a niche area within this small part of the real estate process, I was kind of pigeonholed into this, and all of my classmates that I had graduated with and colleagues at my previous company, that was the only thing they wanted to do, which is awesome if you want your career to be based around fire protection engineering and life safety code consulting. It's a great field, and I think it's really important, and it's very needed. It just wasn't a perfect match for me. So pivoting into kind of why I came to business school, I wanted to get a more overarching view on the world beyond just real estate, beyond just engineering, beyond just the built world, and that's why I've come to Anderson. I'm hoping to pursue a career in management consulting, and then I'm sure something else after, because I'm sure many listening know that management consulting is typically a short stint, and then you head into something else. But yeah, I think the overarching set of advice or words of relevance for those listening is don't doubt yourself. If you like, there's no wrong path to go down, and you can always change your mind later. So I'm sure we have a lot of undergrad listeners to the podcast, which is great, and it's awesome to pursue a major in something that you're really passionate about, but don't worry if it's not something that you're passionate about 5 years down the line. I believe strongly in the sunk cost fallacy. Like, just because you've done something for this long doesn't mean that you're stuck doing that forever. So I would say just take it day by day, and things are always changing. And if you wake up one day and you want to do something different and you do have that epiphany moment, follow that. But other times it's more of a gradual feeling, and it's okay to change, and it's okay to try something new, especially when it comes to work and the business world. There's a place for everyone in business school, and truly every single type of personality and background I've seen at Anderson, which is amazing.
Totally agree. Thank you. Yeah, things are constantly changing. It's quite common to hear actually, undergrads, switching their majors all the time. Like, it's pretty common, and I know personally, like, a lot of people that have done that, switched not even like once, maybe twice, 3 times. I personally haven't switched, but just like hearing those stories, like, it's really common, and people, a lot of times they don't really know what they want to do, right? They're kind of like learning as they go, and part of the reason why Bruin Finance Society was started in the first place is like, have that starting point for students to, learn about all these different fields in finance and business, right? Because there's so much that is involved with, the world of finance. And, that's specifically why, I'm, really enjoying hearing what you're saying, because it's just very unique, something that I've never heard. I'm sure a lot of the audience members listening in right now have probably never heard of as well. And it's just, it's great to hear how many unique pathways there are, and just because, you may be like pursuing something right now doesn't mean like you're gonna stick with it, oh yeah, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. Things are gonna change, and it's normal. It's part of life.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think, that's really great advice that you just gave. I really appreciate you for sharing that.
Of course.
So thank you. The next question I have for you is, and I kind of briefly mentioned this earlier, you are a Forté Foundation Fellow, and I'm curious to know, like, what exactly does that entail, and how has that provided you, extra opportunities, like resources for you here as a MBA student?
Yeah, definitely. So the Forté Foundation Fellowship is a fellowship provided to women going into business. I was awarded it when I was accepted into Anderson, and I would say the great part about it is it gives you access to all of the resources provided by Forté, the organization. So it's a huge organization, essentially, with the overall goal of having more women leading. I think that's their tagline, more women leading. And the big benefit of it was getting to attend the pre-MBA conferences that I attended. It was just about a year ago. There was one in New York and then one in Chicago. And there was a pretty big Anderson showing. So I think we had about 20 of my current class. So I got to meet and network with not just my class before school started, but also other women at other MBA programs around the country. And I'm still in touch with some of them today, which is amazing. And beyond just the network and the friendships that I've been able to form because of this Forté organization, they also do a great job of providing extra resources for women going into all different fields. So one of the conferences I attended was actually a finance-based conference. At the time, I was considering going into finance, and then I later solidified on consulting, but they post job postings on their website. They're constantly reaching out to make sure we're feeling supported and feeling like we are getting value out of being a Forté Fellow. So I've really enjoyed getting to know all the different Forté Fellows throughout the US at other MBA schools, and it's really been a great experience just to be able to connect with so many different women who have such similar goals and aspirations to me. So it's been great, and now a lot of them are my great friends at Anderson.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
I think you just perfectly described how networking is, very important, right? Just having people that are, like-minded, following similar paths and stuff like that, career-wise. I think it's very encouraging, seeing other people going through the same as you, and it's just great having, you said you've made a lot of great friends through that, and I think that's very important, just having people, again, going through the same kind of things as you, so I think that's really great. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So when it comes to you specifically, right, you mentioned that you're pursuing management consulting, right? I know you're currently involved in Management Consulting Association.
Yeah.
I believe that's okay.
Yep, you got it.
Yes. So, and I know you're involved in other things too. It's a lot of quite
happy
a
to list them all off.
Things.
I very very involved at Anderson, but
yeah. Yeah, that's great. So when it comes to this, I want to know specifically more about what this club entails, and just, I know you kind of briefly talked about it already, but just why consulting and why you chose this path. Yeah,
definitely. So first I'll dive into kind of my why consulting, and then what MCA actually does. I feel like at Anderson we speak in acronyms constantly, so we call it MCA, Management Consulting Association. You got it, nail it in the head. So I kind of touched on this with my journey, but my why consulting was essentially to get a bigger worldview on the entire world of business. So for those listening who maybe aren't familiar with what management consulting is, I think we've all probably heard the word consulting and may be familiar with it, may not be. Essentially what consultants do is they are hired by businesses to solve whatever problem they have. So sometimes businesses have a profitability problem, sometimes they don't know their problem, and consultants come in and deep dive into what's going on at the company and figure out how or what the best way to solve whatever issue the business is facing is. And the reason I really wanted to do this is because as I mentioned, I've only ever worked in this small area of the real estate sector. So working as a consultant would allow me to touch a lot of different industries. So we're in LA, entertainment capital of probably the world. So a lot of LA-based consulting firms will work heavily in the entertainment sector, which is super interesting. We're also pretty close to Silicon Valley, so getting a lot of working with tech companies to solve their problems. It's really all types of sectors, from tech, entertainment, industrials, finance, pretty much everything. And one thing that we kind of joke about at Anderson is the people who are pursuing consulting are the people who, quote unquote, don't know what they want to be when they grow up, which I think is very true in my case. And I think that's also a testament to you don't have to know exactly what path you're going down, even when you're pursuing a graduate degree. I think it's great to be pointed and targeted with your intentionality of where you want to go. But in my case, I don't know what sector I want to land in at the end. So consulting is a great place for me to kind of figure out what areas I really have an interest in. And then diving into the second part of that. So MCA at Anderson is our consulting club. Essentially, the the goal of it is for the students at Anderson who want to pursue consulting get jobs in consulting. Very simplified, easier said than done. But MCA works with the Parker Career Center, which is our career center on campus, and they do a lot of different things to help the consulting students prep for company visits, interviews, coffee chats, kind of everything under the sun relating to consulting. So in the fall we have a professionalism series that talks about, you know, what should you wear to a company presentation. Don't have your laptop out, take notes on a piece of paper, wear your name, like kind of basic stuff, but it's good to get a baseline because we have a lot of students who are coming from a lot of different countries all over the world who maybe there's different norms, different places when it comes to business customs. So gets everyone on the same page, helps kind of organize how coffee chats are supposed to work. A lot of people don't know there's usually not coffee at a coffee chat. It's just a Zoom call between usually a student and then a practitioner at a firm, just to kind of get to know more about that firm and the projects and the types of, you know, the culture and everything. So yeah, working with the MCA has been great. I had a first year director role. I was the director of prospective students, so I assisted the VP of prospective students with outreach to students who were interested in coming to Anderson for consulting, and now I am the VP of community for MCA. So my role now is essentially just to drive the internal connection between MCA members. So we actually last night had our second year send off to our second years who are graduating. It was at Rocco's in Westwood. I'm sure you guys have all been there. Rocco's is great, and it was a really great opportunity to you know, thank the second years for all they've done for us, because they've been huge mentors and sources of support, but also just bond together, have some good food and hang out and sing karaoke at Rocco's. So super fun, and I really enjoyed getting to help form those bonds within MCA, because I personally believe that, you know, the true value of business school and a top 20 school like Anderson is the connections that you can form while here. So happy to play a small part of that in the MCA.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And definitely, I think it's great that, like you mentioned, like, you know, several different components of MCA. I know you briefly mentioned how there's kind of like outreach, you know, you guys are helping students who are interested in pursuing consulting at Anderson, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's just like from the ground up, you guys are, you know, talking about, like, you know, what's considered basic stuff, but I think it's like really important to just like know kind of like things like that, like how to, you know, what's the dress code, you know, attire for work, you know, like how to network properly, you know, how to present yourself, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, you're walking around, that's kind of like you're presenting your personal brand, right? Like,
yeah, definitely.
You know, when you're meeting people, you're meeting professionals, coffee chats, you know, with no coffee, right? Yeah. I think, yeah, no matter what situation you're in, like, you're presenting that personal brand, and I think it's just super important to like really know what that means, you know, and I think that's great that you guys are doing that. So yeah, thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that sounds like you guys had a fun time.
Yeah, we did.
At Rocco's,
we definitely did. Yeah.
Celebration and everything. Yeah, that sounds great. And you know, going back to what I was saying previously, right? I think it's super great to just have those connections, right? And knowing people who are also, you know, going through a similar path. So I think that's very great. So yeah, thank you. So next thing I want to talk about is, we've talked about your engineering background, right? Pre-MBA. I want to know more about how that kind of background, the engineering background you have, is giving you an edge in consulting, or just like the business world in general. Like, is there like kind of like a perspective that you're bringing to the MBA program here at Anderson?
Yeah, definitely. I think the value of having any sort of unique background, and I kind of touched on this, that no background is better or worse than any other background, but
Yeah.
I think being able to bring in a set of technical skills from my engineering background that are very pointed and specific has been really beneficial to my classmates and to giving myself kind of, you spoke about the personal brand, and kind of how I can position myself to be the best that I can be. But I have always thought that a kind of more technical background combined with a business master's, an MBA, for myself has been the perfect combination, because I feel like having a really technical baseline, like I've taken all of the physics and math and calc and all that, and it was super challenging. I definitely struggled through that, but I'm so glad I did that, because it really taught me how to be adaptable, how to learn, how to work with all types of people, and then kind of leveraging that into the MBA. I've been able to get more up to speed faster with the more technical classes. So accounting and finance, this was my first time taking those classes this year at Anderson, and they were challenging, but it wasn't any more challenging than any of the engineering classes that I took. So I kind of had to tap into my undergrad self and how I used to study for these really challenging exams to get through those classes, and I did it, and it was challenging, but it wasn't it wasn't anything that I hadn't experienced before. And then I think the biggest thing that I would say going into consulting is being able to be memorable. So having any sort of background or undergrad major or work experience that is different than your peers or the other people that you may be competing against for certain internships or jobs. We're all just at the end of the day, we're resumes on a sheet. So if you can bring a little bit of uniqueness and personality and get these consultants and hiring managers to remember you in a good way, hopefully, then I think that's the best thing you can do. And it doesn't need to be anything crazy. I think, most times it can just be something small, like if you have a very specific, you did a really cool project, or you have a really specific undergrad major, or you have a really unique hobby. Any of the above, I think, gives a little bit of an edge, and people want to work with people that are interesting. You want to be able to be someone that other people want to be around, which I think is a huge aspect of consulting, just because we all know there's kind of long hours sometimes, so you want to be able to work with people who don't just want to be a consultant. You want to be a person who has a certain background and life outside of work.
Totally agree. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, there's always a story behind a resume, behind a piece of paper or CV, and that ties in exactly with what I was saying about the personal brand, because the personal brand goes way beyond what's on that piece of paper. That piece of paper can include your experiences and things that you're involved in, grades, GPA, all that stuff, but doesn't really tell the story. There's people coming from all sorts of backgrounds and different upbringings and stuff like that, And I think, bringing that unique, diverse perspective that you were kind of talking about is important to really build community. I think it's really great. I'm gonna speak for me personally here. Just being in a community here at UCLA where there's just students from all types of backgrounds has been amazing for me. Just learning how different cultures are, and how different things are in other parts of the world. So I think it's really great to just have that sense of diverse community, right? And me personally, I'm Central American, I'm Salvadorian, and I'm a first generation student for those that don't know. So I think it's just great, being able to discuss about these things, and being able to immerse myself in different diverse perspectives.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
So next thing, and this actually kind of ties in with what we were just talking about. So I know you studied abroad briefly in Sweden a couple years ago. So you're kind of bringing a little bit of that global perspective, if you will. So how did that global perspective impact your approach to leadership and problem solving, or just like any kind of perspective on things, right? And how would you recommend to students listening to the podcast right now to study abroad?
Yeah, I mean, such an easy yes. I think back so fondly to my time studying abroad in Sweden. Very unique place to study abroad. I always got a lot of questions, like, why Sweden? And the answer to that is because there, as I've kind of mentioned, there's not a lot of fire protection engineering schools in the world, and Lund University in Sweden is one of the universities that has that as a major. Fun fact. So, but yes, I would absolutely recommend studying abroad. I really think having a perspective that's beyond just your local community where you grow up or where you go to undergrad is so important. And I think I don't know. I did a lot of travel. I had a lot of fun that semester, but I think the biggest takeaway that I learned during that time, it was about 5 months, was how to be adaptable, how to figure things out, and how to stay calm when things inevitably went wrong. I took a lot of trips, I was going to miss at least a couple of flights along the way, and especially when you're somewhere that you don't speak the language. I learned a little Swedish, but I should have learned much more than I did. So I knew a few words and could communicate a little bit, but it was definitely a language barrier. Most people spoke English, but that wasn't the case for everyone. So, learning how to figure things out, and especially in a foreign place where things aren't familiar, customs are different, norms are different, was so valuable. And this missing the flight story, I kind of touched on that, but it was definitely a problem-solving moment, and just a situation of, okay, this sucks that I missed this flight, but time to figure it out. We're not going to dwell on this, but I missed a flight back from Edinburgh back to Copenhagen, because I would fly into Copenhagen and take the train into Sweden, and missed the flight because I was re-entering into the EU, so I had to get a stamp on my passport at the front entrance of the airport. Once you were past security, you couldn't get that anymore. I don't know if they still do that, but at the time I was baffled. I was like, it seems like there should be an easier way to do this and more clear signage, but who knows? So got to the gate. They said, yep, you got to go back out through security, get your passport stamped. And by the time I did that, I was running back to the gate. Gate was closed. Luckily, I was with other study abroad students, other Americans, and we essentially all banded together, and we're like, okay, somebody's gonna book a hotel, somebody's gonna book a taxi, and we're gonna go back to the city, stay overnight, and rebook flights for the morning. And I think just having that level of flexibility and being able to be calm under pressure is such a skill that so many people can benefit from, and it really can be applied to just about anything in life, professionally, personally, socially. Things always go wrong. It's less about the actual event that goes wrong and more about how you can deal with it and how you can learn from it going forward. So I think that's definitely informed my path forward. As I mentioned, as a consulting engineer, things ultimately go wrong. You miss things. Just, you gotta move on, understand that nobody's perfect, and it'll all be okay. But it's more about learning from each process and each moment than the actual thing that happens. So, yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. Things are sometimes, completely not anticipated.
Yeah.
And you kind of just have to learn how to adapt to that situation, which is just a super important skill to have. And not only that, sometimes these unanticipated situations are completely just chaotic sometimes, and there's a lot of pressure involved. And like you said, it's just important to keep calm under pressure. And that'll happen a lot, especially at work. Sometimes there's a task, a very stressful task that you have to complete by a certain upcoming deadline, and you have to be able to adapt to those things, right? I think it's a super important skill to have, and it really builds character, and it's super important to have, it's part of your personality. I think that's great that you guys were able to kind of figure that whole situation out, and you were able to book flights for the next day. So I think that's a great example there.
Yeah. Shout out, I think it was either Ryanair or one of the cheap airlines, and it's a miracle they let us rebook for free, even though it was our own issue. But again, just adaptability and being able to go with the flow.
Yeah, definitely. Well, shout out to that airline. Yeah. I don't know anything about that airline, but
it's like a Spirit. It's like Spirit.
It's like Spirit.
Yeah. So not great, but it all worked out.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. So yeah, thank you for sharing that experience. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So another thing, right? And I kind of already mentioned this already. You're involved in all these different clubs and stuff. And earlier in the episode, I mentioned that you're part of a wine club.
Yes.
So I want to hear more about this wine club. I know you're the VP of partnerships. Is that correct?
Yep.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, definitely. Happy to. So at Anderson, there's, just to kind of give an overall broad view, there's 3 types of clubs. One is professional clubs, so that's where we get management consulting, and then all of the other clubs that help with recruiting. And then there's interest clubs, which is like wine club, outdoor adventure club, anything that's just an interest. And then there's identity clubs, so any sort of identity that people are a part of. So this is obviously an interest club. I don't identify as a wine, even though I do drink a lot of it. So wine club's one of our most popular clubs at Anderson. And essentially, is that a shock that MBA students like to drink wine and socialize? I don't think so, but
I don't think so. It's just the fact that there's a club at all. I think that's
just
really
wine club. It is pretty crazy, and the people that I've told about it are like, it's just a wine club. I'm like, yeah, but it's really it's more than just like drinking wine. It's a lot about the community and the education, and just being able to form connections with people who you have things in common with, even if the thing you have in common is enjoying wine. But they put on a lot of events throughout the year. So as the incoming VP of partnerships for the upcoming year. I will collaborate with other clubs to do fun events. So one that they had this year was a collaboration with the Latin American Business Association to have a Chilean wine and food night. So that's just one example of the types of partnerships that I would be engaging in. But the wine club is great. There's a lot of tastings from vineyards around California. Also a reason I love being here, and I love being able to be so close to so many amazing vineyards. Representatives from the vineyards will come to Anderson and explain their wines and explain, what the process is like and how it's produced, and then we'll taste the wine, usually with some accompaniments like a cheese board, and we really get to learn about what makes this wine special, what makes this vineyard special. So it's a lot more than just drinking wine. We're really trying to, get into the business of wine and get an overarching view of one aspect of the business world, which is the winemaking world. But
right.
We did a Napa trip in April. And then there was a Paso Robles trip actually it was last weekend. I didn't go, unfortunately. I couldn't make it, but lots of weekend trips to the wine regions around California. So I've really enjoyed getting to be a part of it, and getting to, form deeper friendships with other people in the club who also have a passion for wine.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Sure, a lot of Napa wine.
Yeah. I love the Napa wine. I mean,
yeah.
Such a great area for winemaking.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm originally from the area, like close by.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so I know a thing or two,
Yeah.
So yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
I think, just a broader theme here. I think it's, important to kind of expand and, try these different, interest clubs and stuff like that, to really just put yourself out there, and get to like meet people with like similar interests. I think, it's a great way to just do some casual networking there, meet people and, a lot of times you hear so many of these stories where, you meet people in the most like unexpected places, unexpected times. Maybe you weren't even planning to go to, a certain event or whatever it is, meeting, and you kind of just form connections through that. And, a lot of times they end up being a lifelong friend connection that you
definitely.
have. And I think that's the, true beauty of it. I think it's great that, just such a, unique interest like wine, wine tasting and all that, can really just bring people together like that.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was like very popular.
Yeah, I think it's
Anderson.
one of the most popular interest clubs at Anderson. So
yeah,
the more you know.
Yeah, the more you know. So that's very interesting to hear. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Okay, so next question I have is, and we've been asking this every episode, every guest that's been on this podcast. Is there a piece of media, and it can be like a TV show, a movie, or book, is there a piece of media that you really enjoy and would recommend to students or anyone that's listening to the podcast right now?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. I mean, so many. I'm actually not a big watcher of TV shows or movies. So I think for this one, my answer will be books and also podcasts. I am a big reader. I haven't been reading a lot recently because I've been so busy doing everything under the sun at Anderson. But I think reading is such a great way to disconnect in this world where we're so plugged into our phones.
Definitely.
And there's more books than anyone could ever read. But it's great to just, get a good grasp of something to ground you and to really learn from. I enjoy reading more educational books, and then also fiction, just to kind of disconnect and get both sides of that. And then podcasts. Obviously, we're on a podcast right now, so how can I not plug podcasts? But there's so many great podcasts out there that are so educational, entertaining, pretty much everything. I think the great thing about podcasts is you can be doing other things while you're listening, walking to school, driving, working out, doing pretty much anything, which is great to be able to get that aspect while you're might be busy, quote unquote, doing something else. So I have been listening to a lot of, that's usually how I get my news. Morning Brew Daily, Wall Street Journal are all great podcasts that have a very just overarching, obviously the political world is extremely divided right now, so it's good to get kind of an unbiased view of just the facts, and especially with so many different things going on. I mean, there's a new news story dropping every single day, so being able to understand that from an unbiased perspective on a podcast that is just there to give the facts, I think is really valuable in this day and age. But, yeah,
definitely, I agree. And I think one of the great things about podcasts, and you kind of mentioned this, is the fact that they're very flexible. You can listen to it wherever it is, wherever you are. I personally listen to it in the gym. Sometimes I like to multitask. Sometimes I listen to a podcast while I'm studying.
Okay,
and
that's pretty.
Which is it sounds crazy, but I honestly don't think it's any more different from listening to music.
Yeah, definitely.
People listen to music for a lot of different reasons. And by the way, I should have mentioned this. I'm a musician, so I make
amazing.
music.
Okay.
Yeah, so
wow, what don't you do?
Yeah, I do a lot of different
UCLA
things.
undergrad, podcast host, musician. Love it.
Yeah. We do a lot of different things around here. Bruin Finance Society, we do a lot of different things in this organization too. I mean, this is just one of so many other things that we do. But going back to me, I feel like people listen to music for a lot of different reasons. Maybe like the meaning, like the lyrics, maybe the melodies, the there's just so many things that go with music. And for me personally, I like to listen to music for like the meaning, like the lyrics. Like I like to listen to what an artist is saying, And I think it's not much different from listening to a podcast. Podcasts might be talking about something that is of interest of me, maybe like the news, or they're talking about the music industry, insights into that. One that I've been listening to is like, one about the stock market, like what's going on in the stock market right now, So there's just a lot of different things that you can do. And I think it's just like, I like to multitask. I know maybe it's not something that others can,
I mean, if you can do it, I think that's great.
I think me personally, it just works out for me, so I like to do that. But again, you can do it in other situations and circumstances too, like the gym, or if you're on the way to somewhere, maybe you're on the bus or metro or whatever it is. There's like so many situations that you can listen to a podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's great, and books as well. I don't really read too many books either, just because I'm very busy as well. But there's just a lot of great books out there to read. Couple of weeks ago, I finished up The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. So that's a classic. It's a good one to read. And that's one I would recommend to anyone listening. And I'm pretty sure that was one that was recommended a couple episodes ago too by Professor Simon. So So yeah, I mean, there's so many out there, and
Yeah.
I think it's great. So
Yeah. Awesome.
thanks for sharing. And then one more question before we wrap up the episode here today. If you could go back and give your 21, 22-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh God, this is kind of hard. So 21, 22-year-old Ella, I was junior, senior in undergrad at Maryland. And I would probably tell myself, slow down and don't just be wishing for the next thing to come. And I think this has been a theme throughout my life, and probably so many others, where we're getting through one thing to get to the next thing. We have 2 more weeks in this quarter, 3 more weeks in the quarter, getting to the next thing, but slowing down and enjoying the period of time that you're in. I actually remember pretty vividly being a senior, so I was 22, and being like, I can't wait to start working. And here I am 5 years later, 6 years later, back in school, which I never thought that I would ever be doing. I never saw myself getting a master's degree. I was like, nope. After this bachelor's degree, I am all done. So slowing down, enjoying each season of life as it comes, and also not being afraid to kind of take that pivot and understand that just because there's one thing that you want in your life at one point doesn't mean that that's going to hold true forever. So staying in tune and listening to your whatever your guiding force is in your life, and just staying true to that, and also just life is not that serious, I feel like a lot of the times I'm trying to take things super seriously, but things are not as serious as they appear in pretty much all aspects. So so it's all good, and it's just, we're all just living this life, and we just gotta try to enjoy it as much as we can.
I agree, totally. I think there will be situations where you have to be serious, you have to be locked in, like you have to be on top of things, but life is not worth stressing about. There's just so much more to life than we are college students. A lot of times we're stressed out because of one thing or another. I think it's important to just take things one at a time and just really reflect on just where you are in your current position. I mean, there's just so much more to life than what we may be focusing on right now currently. And I think it's super important that we find ways to kind of manage that that stress and all those different kinds of emotions and moods that we're feeling. I think it's important to find something that can mitigate that. I personally use music production for that. I'm a musician, so big music person, so that's kind of my avenue that I use for that.
Yeah, definitely.
And for others it's reading or listening to podcasts, like we just talked about. So I think it's great.
Awesome.
Other than that wraps up our episode 4 of Financial Frontiers with Bruin Finance Society, with our amazing guest here, Ella Meredith. Thank you everyone for tuning in to this episode. Really appreciate your support, and thank you so much for tuning in again, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. It was great having you on here.